Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to offer dana, then please do go to justthiszen.org/giving. Your support really does make a huge difference. Thank you so much.
Good morning. I hope you're enjoying swimming in this deep ocean of stillness we have here, and that from time to time when you come up to speak, you need to speak to somebody, you're coming up to the surface from this deep well of silence. And I hope also that you're finding a taste of freedom in that place that is always there. Suzuki Roshi said, our practice is seeking wisdom seeking wisdom. And today I want to talk about freedom, seeking freedom. So my tuning, the tuning of my strings this morning is a yearning for freedom. 9 years ago when I was head student, I chose a koan for my closing ceremony and to live with before that time. And I realise now, looking back, I think I chose it because for me there was something about freedom, and freedom within the role of being head student. And then, of course, being in the role of being me. And the case is case 81 of the Blue Cliff record, The Elk of Elks. A monk asked Yeyashan, on a level field, in the shallow grass, the elk and the deer form a herd. How can one shoot the elk of elks? On a level field, in the shallow grass, the elk and the deer form a herd. How can one shoot the elk of elks? I think the image of this koan is one of equanimity and tranquility. If you imagine a herd of deer in the grass. And it expresses something about our practice, which is to cultivate equanimity, cultivate tranquility, cultivate resourcefulness. But I think this monk is asking a very profound question, because this practice is all of those things. But he's saying, is that it? Is this practice to achieve a state of equanimity and calmness and resourcefulness in our life? And of course it is. But he's saying, is there more? How do you actually shoot the elk of elks? And I think it comes from his deep longing to explore something further. He's really saying, I think, how can I be king of my own kingdom? How can I sit in my seat and be the king of my kingdom? It's not about shooting an elk. How can you be queen of your queendom? What would it be to sit in your seat today and feel that presence and that power and that care for yourself? So it's something about hitting the bullseye. Okay, I'm here. I get it, I think. I'm really deep into practice, but I have a longing for freedom. It's like the snowman in that beautiful film, you know? He's in a lovely farm in Sussex, but he comes from Lapland, He's playing with the boy, and then he suddenly realizes, there's more. I want to fly. And I think we all really, really want to fly. And there's something about practice where maybe if we're really fortunate, a moment comes and we go, I actually want to go beyond safety. I want to hit the bullseye. At least want to aim for the bullseye. This is my chance. So, we want to share with you today an exchange between two Dharma friends, which I think speaks to this koan and the relationship that is required between us sometimes to support us to move to what freedom might be for us. So, on the 25th of April, Jan wrote to me from her holiday in Portugal. She said, "Hi Josh, I've had some quiet time to think about the activities for Sunday, using universal teaching as the central theme and some linking through from single principles. I'm not attached to these ideas, so other ideas welcome. Who is offering the talk on Sunday? Will this fit in with it?" So, I replied, "Hi Jan, these are rich offerings. I'm going to be sharing the talk on Sunday morning. Will your offerings fit in with this? Fit in with it? I'm not sure. And I'm not sure if they need to. How would it be to meet on the Saturday to explore your ideas, and until then, we keep a spacious mind about it?"
So my response was, okay, I'll go with that. As you could imagine, not a whole of me saying I'll go with that, because there's a part of me inside, I guess I would call it my threat-seeking part, saying we need a plan. We need a plan, or we're going to mess up. So away in Portugal, I was sitting with the part that was already starting to perceive this was now a threat, and having to manage that part with my soother part, my supporter part, and actually a part that feels supported by Josh. So I think there's something interesting here around there's words and there's dialogue, but underneath this there's like a sort of like a gentle tussle between us where I'm trying to work it out, get a plan, nail it, and get safe. And Josh is trying to invite me into not knowing, which is just not a comfortable place. Not knowing, spaciousness. But there's part of me knows that's liberation. But it takes a lot for me to manage the threat-aware parts that are away in Portugal. It felt far enough away for me to go, oh yeah, okay. And Josh says he'll meet me on the day before, so I get it nailed then.
So, we meet the day before. Jan says, "What are you going to talk about tomorrow? Would it be possible to see your notes?"
Subtle, eh? Subtle.
And I reply, "I'm not entirely sure yet."
You see the dance.
My notes are quite random at the moment, but I'm drawn to the following. what it is to hear and see, weaving, fabric, robes and rakasus. In view of this, how about you create your Dharma activity after listening to my talk tomorrow morning? We could meet to discuss.
Part of me, are you mad? Are you really going to do this? And part of me is cross with Josh. Part of me knows he's like setting me up. Part of me is irritated. But there's another part of me that goes, I trust him. He loves me. He'll be there for me. And he won't let me drown. So I said, okay, let's go with it. So that night, before I came to bed, I went and sat on my laptop with the words he'd already given me, breathing, and I wrote some notes and I made another little plan. So then the talk.
So then I shared the talk, and then we went and met with Karen as well the next day, or an hour later, and we sat down.
We did. And by this time, the threat-seeking part is blowing the horn. You know, it really is on alert. And I'm now starting to feel frightened. I can feel it in my gut. When we were talking about timings, I couldn't work out the numbers of the timing because I could feel the shift in my brain. I knew that my flight system was activated and I wanted to run. And I couldn't work out the logistics. So I had my lovely Karen next to me. And I said, I really just need you to do that bit because I cannot think about that bit. So I really felt like I was drowning. I was reaching for a raft. I had some ideas from the talk, but because I was feeling activated, it was actually really hard to formulate them. I don't know if you know what that feels like. So Josh gave me some ideas and that seemed to springboard me off, and I was like, oh yeah, I know. And then I talked about my process and Josh said, well, offer that. And that felt really comfortable. That felt something that I could do, something that I could manage, and I feel like I'm able to share my vulnerability. So I thought, yeah, that's a really good starting place. So with that help from Josh, I then was able to sit and just gather my thoughts, knowing I would have my Karen next to me to support me through. And I knew that Josh would be there. I knew they wouldn't let me drown in this ocean. And so I made some notes, and I guess I started to realise I can do this. Josh knew I could do it, but I didn't realise I could do it. And so I did it.
And it was beautiful, wasn't it?
Yes.
I really enjoyed it. What's that about? All that nonsense. But it's also because I know how much love I feel for you and the love that is returned to me. I felt safe enough as well. So with this audience and this group that I knew would be benevolent, it was also an easier thing to do. Thank you for that support. I knew you'd all be rooting for me. No one wants me to drown.
So we flew, didn't we?
We flew.
We flew through the air.
We flew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great liberation.
Yes. What did you realise about yourself?
That I can do it.
Yeah.
That maybe I don't need a plan. Maybe I can trust myself. That actually spaciousness will serve me well. And that I don't always need to know. That I don't need to batten things down. And I guess there's something about, this being caught in who I think I am. And not just that, but who I think you think I am. That I have to be this really well-planned, organised, and deliver a perfect whatever it is, whether it be an order or a talk or an activity. So, first part of my name is Function Mountain. So on the Rakasu, I think some of you may have heard me talk about this first part of the talk. Kizan, Function Mountain, is my strength. And Flint has offered me something to grow into. Didn't like the Kizan. Didn't want to be Function Mountain. But I think at the time I didn't like it, but I see that it is my strength. But the second part that he offered, which is the Daiwa, is great harmony. And I didn't really know how I would grow into that. But I think somebody else had an idea of what that might look like. And maybe this is giving me a taste of it. I don't know, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I think, give your life for a student like this. Give your life for students like these, and for a teacher that we have who's on his way back home on a plane. We are so blessed, and we can support each other to take these steps together towards freedom. And you've demonstrated that again and again by practicing with your conditioning, not practicing your conditioning.
Yeah.
Because the near enemy of this practice is that we just continue to practice our conditioning. There's a moment when we can turn towards our conditioning and go, okay, what is this really? How can we find freedom? I'm deeply touched and deeply grateful, and it gives me real encouragement in my practice and my life that we do this dance together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, deep bow.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Jan. So, to continue the theme, Suzuki Roshi said, real freedom is not to feel limited when wearing this Zen robe, this troublesome formal robe. Similarly, in our busy life, we should wear this civilization without being bothered by it, without ignoring it, but without being caught by it, without going anywhere, without escaping it, we can find composure in this busy life. And he went on to say in a different talk, if your mind is calm and constant, you can keep yourself away from the noisy world, even though you are in the midst of it. In the midst of noise and change, your mind will be quiet and stable. I've been watching programs on television recently, and I think they're increasing, where people go away to remote places, like Scottish Islands, which is fine. But the narrator often compares it with the busyness of urban life, or the life they lead. They have to get away somewhere in order to feel, they think, free. And I think that's quite compelling, but it's actually not the practice. It's very lovely to be here in this beautiful, tranquil place. But it's a training ground for our lives outside. So I had a conversation with two teachers to create this talk today. One is the Zen teacher Richard Strobe, and the other is the Chan teacher Gugo. So I'm going to quote them a few times during the talk. So there's a story. A nun came to a Zen teacher and asked, "What is the way?" The teacher replied, "No hindrance." The nun asked then, "What does no hindrance mean?" The teacher asked, "Why do you wear clothes?" At this, the nun stripped naked and walked to the door. Richard Strobe comments, "The nun understood the freedom of taking it all off and throwing it away, going somewhere to get away from this world. But it is not so clear that she understood the freedom of putting it back on and living freely in the world." So there's a collection of koans called the Mumonkon, and they were compiled by Chan Master Wumen Hukai, 1183 to 1260, whose name actually means open to wisdom and realize the gateless. He lived in the same time as Dogen and Meister Eckhart. He compiled the Mumonkon in 1228. It offers 48 entryways to wake up to your life. These entryways are presented as a barrier or checkpoint at a gate. They are short cases of life scenarios that show where you are stuck. The truth is, there is no gate or barrier. Where you feel stuck is precisely where you realize awakening or freedom. Where you feel stuck is precisely where you realize awakening or freedom. In his preface to this case, Gugo echoes our earlier perspectives. Freedom is not silence and peace. Freedom is being at ease in noise and chaos. So, this is the case. Yunmen said to his assembly of monk practitioners, "The world is so vast and wide. Why do you put on your 7-piece robe at the sound of the bell? The world is so vast and wide. Why do you put on your 7-piece robe at the sound of the bell?" That was the Dharma talk, and then he went out. So, Wumen's comment on the case is as follows. All who learn Chan and study the path must avoid following sound and form. Even so, awakening to the path by hearing sound or illuminating your mind by seeing form is quite ordinary. Little do you know, patched robed monks ride on sound and hover over form, and yet, with each circumstance, illuminating this great matter and taking up each and every wondrous opportunity. But even so, does the sound come to the ear, or does the ear reach out to the sound? Even if sound and silence are both forgotten, when you reach this point, how do you understand words? If you use your ears to hear, it will be difficult to understand. But if you listen to sound with your eyes, you will be on intimate terms with reality. So, this is my comment on this case. All who learn Chan and study the path must avoid following sound and pursuing form. We must avoid being caught by what we see and hear all the time. And in this heightened opportunity we have this week of manufactured crises and real crises, all sorts of things are happening between us and inside us. So he says, Ruman says, we must avoid becoming caught by sound and form. He says, even so, awakening to the path by hearing sound or illuminating your mind by seeing form is quite ordinary. It happens all the time. We continuously, all day, get caught by what we see and hear and perceive. So it's good if you don't get caught, but if you get caught, it's an opportunity for inquiry and for reflection with your friends and continuous realization of noticing where you're getting caught by sound and form all the time. Then he says, little do you know, patch-robed monks ride on sound and hover over form. And I feel that's saying they don't get caught by what they see and what they hear. And I sort of have an embodied feeling of when we hear sounds, there's an invitation to ride on sounds. So it becomes embodied. It's not here, it's not opinions. It's how would it be to ride on sound and hover over form that we see? Hover over objects, situations, so that we're not pulled in. We're keeping that fluidity. And for me, that's what I'm hearing through that. Dogen was once asked, what is the mind of enlightenment? He said it's this flexible mind. It's this ever flexible mind. And Woman goes on to say, and yet with each circumstances, illuminating this great matter and taking up each and every wondrous opportunity. They're all around us, yes, taking up every opportunity we have to notice what's happening. But even so, tell me, does the sound come to the ear, or does the ear reach out to the sound? Think back to yesterday when I was talking, actually it wasn't yesterday, it was Sunday now. Vanessa Goddard was talking about seeing and hearing. Even if sound and silence are both forgotten, when you reach this point, how do you understand words? If you use your ears to hear, it will be difficult to understand. But if you listen to sound with your eyes, you will be on intimate terms with reality. So we're not going to explore that today, but I wanted to kind of leave it there for you, just in case it's working inside you. And I'm going to share the verse for similar reasons, because this is a verse that you could be with for a lifetime, but it's just not for today. And hopefully you will have another day. We will have another day. Who knows? So I wanted to share it with you. He says, if you understand, all are one and the same. If you do not understand, there are thousands of differences and distinctions. If you do not understand, all are one and the same. If you understand, there are thousands of differences and distinctions. So that would be a verse for a whole retreat. Hugo's comment on woman's comment that I've just commented on, he says, if you examine your life, you will see that when you are miserable, when you're feeling frustrated, when you're anguished, it's because you have heard something from someone or you have seen something you didn't want to see. You are conditioned to see things a certain way. In practice, you have to see through the veils of conditioning the process through which you ritually and habitually relate to those around you based on your own standards of actions and words. So resonating with the dance that Jan and I enjoyed, this is an encounter between Hugo and one of his students. He says, he received an email recently from someone who has been practicing for many years. She'd had the opportunity that summer to do a long retreat, a couple of months by herself somewhere in the mountains. She wrote me a very beautiful email describing her experiences at utter tranquility. What was there but the sound of the birds in that cabin, the Amish people rolling by in their horse cart, and her meditation. It was a very beautiful, peaceful time, she said, with no vexations, no projections or categorization, no compartmentalization. I wrote her briefly, what did you realize? She wrote back, silence. Then she included a short poem by Zen master Ryokan from a book she was probably reading. I guess in her mind, the poem expressed her realization. So, here, read this, was how she presented her realization to me. I didn't respond. At that point, I knew she was not ready for any teaching because she was quite satisfied with what she had found. Anything I might have said either would have offended her or might not have been very useful. Had she said, I'd like to come and see you, then things would have been different. Hugo continues, when woman suggests, if you have found silence and peace, are you free in noise and chaos? He is not saying, when you reach silence, then there's just silence. No, when you reach true peace, you should be free at ease in sound and form. True practitioners ride the wave of sound and freely intermingle with form. It's lovely to have a great holiday. It's not necessarily realization or freedom, but it's great. But there's more. So, back to the case. Yunmen said to his assembly of monk practitioners, the world is so vast and wide, why do you put on your 7-piece robe at the sound of the bell? In Chan monasteries, the bell and other instruments govern the activities of the day. Before a Dharma talk, a monk strikes the temple bell. When monks hear it, they put on their robes. A 5-piece robe is for novices or fully ordained monks or nuns on ordinary occasions. The 25-piece robe is reserved for abbots to wear for special occasions. A 7-piece robe is what a fully ordained monk or nun wears for formal occasions, such as attending a Dharma talk. So here, the bell rings and the monks put on their robes. So here, the bell rings and some of us put on rakasus. Yunmen ascended the Dharma seat and basically said, the sky is so vast, so great, you have such freedom. When nothing binds you, you are already free. Why then do you make the effort to practice, to travel a long way to attend a retreat, to follow the schedule? Why have some of you sewn rakasus with such dedication and will put them on and wear them when you hear the bell ring? Put another way, you are so free. Why do you get up when you hear the alarm in the morning? Why do you go to work? Why is it you do the things you do? Why do you engage in Zen practice? The world is vast and wide. This means that the world, in its original form, is open and free, like us. I think this is a beautiful description by Richard Strobe of the rakasu. The rakasu is a symbolic representation of the world. Its lines, it is sometimes said, represent rows of grain. So when you put on the rakasu, you take on the whole world and carry it as a field of cultivation in your practice. It is a kind of intention or vow. But essentially, that is nothing new, nothing added, because we are already carrying the whole world with us all the time. You and the world become one. From this point of view, you are already carrying the world, and the world is carrying you. Out of that spirit comes compassionate activity and a feeling of gratitude. The why means don't just do what you do mechanically, without any attentiveness and recognition in your daily activities. Look deeply, really do it, completely, be one with it. In that why, we come to a recognition that putting on the rakasu is the world is vast and wide. And the world is vast and wide is putting on the rakasu. Beautiful photograph of Suzuki Roshi. And a student once said he had 2 different expressions in his eyes. The one very playful and the one really serious. And I think, for me, that's something about our practice. Deeply serious bedrock and deeply playful and creative, flowing on top of it and mingling with it. So that photograph to me says, do you want to do this? Yeah? Do you want to play? I'm serious. Let's do this. Once the Zen teacher Seng-san was asked by a student. The student said, I think I'm going a little crazy doing this practice. He said, craziness is good. Crazy people are happy, free. They have no hindrance. But since you have many attachments, you are only a little crazy. This is not crazy enough. You must be completely crazy. Then you will understand. So let's continue to practice with seriousness, with playfulness, with creativity, and let's at least be a little crazy. That's the invitation. Let's fly. Thank you very much.